With great power, Peter, comes with great responsibility.
Hey, that's my quote!
Uncle Ben, what are you doing here?
I came back from the dead because somebody stole my quote. Who stole it?
Uncle Ben, it wasn't me. It was this version of Aunt May. I gotta go. Bye.
So, you're the person who stole my quote.
Oh no, I am in trouble, aren't I? Peter, you're supposed to come back. Don't you remember you're supposed to do the responsible thing? After all that, I taught the boy with great power also comes with great responsibility, and he doesn't follow up on that.
The only thing you taught the boy is to run away from danger. Don't you remember SpiderMan Homecoming?
Oh yeah, I forgot. I did taught him that. I should have not taught him that in the first place.
You're a terrible role model, May.
Hello everyone, I am Sword Caliber 687, and today I'm going to talk about Aunt May from SpiderMan. Before this video gets started, like, share, and subscribe if you want to see more of my content. Anyway, let's talk about Aunt May. Yeah, I'm going to talk about my feelings about Aunt May's death in No Way Home. For me, it just kind of felt hollow, and I didn't feel anything for Aunt May's death, all because they butchered Aunt May as a character in the MCU movies. I'm gonna tell you a brief history with Aunt May's character in the comics. Aunt May's character in the comics is supposed to be a motherly figure to Peter Parker, even though he doesn't have his parents. I try to say Uncle Ben and Aunt May served as Peter's parents. They raised Peter Parker ever since he was a baby. Or in the Ultimate comic books and the Amazing Spider-Man movie series, he was raised ever since he was a little kid. Aunt May always try to give Peter advice when he needs it, even though he is Spider-Man, but she doesn't know he's Spider-Man at the time. Aunt May always her role for the Spider-Man movies, the comic books, or even the TV shows is supposed to be a motherly figure to Peter Parker. Yeah, I think I saw an interview a long time ago. I was trying to look it up for No Way Home, but I can't find the interview. The huge reason why these writers want to make Aunt May younger, for my personal opinion, it is because, these writers want to make her feel like an actual aunt-like figure, instead of a motherly figure. I know people are going to say, of course Aunt May is a motherly figure to Peter Parker in the MCU movies. I know there's probably going to be that somebody that's going to say this. The huge reason why Aunt May is completely changed is all because she's based on the ultimate interpretation of her character. The writers wanted her to feel younger and have a bit of youth and just have a little bit of that spunk in her personality. Guys, I have to tell you all this. There already was an Aunt May that was based on the Ultimate comic books. And the 616 Aunt May. The Aunt May I was talking about was from the Amazing Spider-Man movies. I am going to show you guys a clip from the Amazing Spider-Man series, how they got Aunt May right.
I don't know how to do this without Ben. I don't know how. And you're dreaming about your perfect father who was never here. No, I won't tell you. You're my boy. As far as I'm concerned, you're my boy, and I won't hurt you.
Yeah, such an amazing Aunt May that cares deeply about Peter's safety. Yeah, I gotta talk about the elephant to the room, all because I didn't really like the fact that Aunt May says, with great power comes also with great responsibility. The huge reason why I don't like Aunt May saying with great power comes with great responsibility, all because the writers are trying to erase Uncle Ben. The whole reason why the writers are trying to erase Uncle Ben in the MCU, all because they believe it will ruin Aunt May's character development. I would try to say with great power also come with great responsibility. The huge problem isn't Aunt May saying it. The problem is the execution of how she said it. Some of you people don't believe me. There is an article talking about how the writers just praised themselves for erasing Uncle Ben in the MCU. I'm going to try to read the article right now. This article is called No Way Home finally confirmed Uncle Ben never mattered in the MCU. Yeah, I'm gonna read the different parts of the article so you can understand why the writers try to get rid of Uncle Ben in the MCU. Spider-Man No Way Home confirmed that Uncle Ben never mattered in the MCU and that the final chapter of the Home trilogy was actually the accumulation of Peter's origin story. The use of Aunt May as his mentor figure in this movie effectively erased Ben's role from the continuity. The screenwriters revealed that No Way Home was meant as the accumulation of Peter's origin and Aunt May's death was analogous for Ben's. Also, seemingly confirmed that Ben never mattered in the MCU. To separate itself from the Raimi and Webb films, John Watts' SpiderMan trilogy instead saw May take the Uncle Ben role in Peter's life. I don't know if I pronounced analogous right, but I don't really care. Hearing this article, it makes me pissed off at the fact that Aunt May is a mentor to Peter Parker, which is so weird. Because May is never really like a mentor figure. She's more like a supporting character that's supposed to support Peter. Peter Parker going to Aunt May's house would make no sense if it's not tied to Uncle Ben. There is one major problem that the writers tend to overlook, all because you try to change the fact that Peter Parker isn't tied to Uncle Ben. Can you all guess why it is bad for trying to erase ties with Uncle Ben to Peter Parker? The answer is completely obvious. The huge reason why is a major problem is all because the huge reason why Peter Parker went to Uncle Ben's house as a kid or a baby is all because of Richard Parker. Uncle Ben is the brother of Richard Parker. Because of that, that's why Uncle Ben and Aunt May raised Peter Parker. Think, everyone, if Aunt May didn't really marry Uncle Ben, she would never meet Peter Parker. Changing the origin between Aunt May and Uncle Ben and Peter Parker would completely change the dynamic with all of the characters in Spider-Man. I know somebody's gonna say, it's just a different universe. She's probably a Parker in this universe. I will have to say this for the different universe excuse a lot of people have to say about it. This is the reason why a lot of writers tend to get away with retconning stuff in fiction. It's all because some of these people let them do it. I would try to say this. Changing the universe or dramatically changing the timeline for a lot of things in the recent comic books tend to make no sense. The whole reason why it makes no sense when writers are trying to change stuff, all because it is made up hypotheticals. I am gonna make up an example, like Sonic the Hedgehog. If they try to change Sonic to being not a hedgehog, being some ugly chicken or something, and he still runs fast, but the writers would try to say, or different fans, it's just a different version of Sonic. This is Sonic the Chicken. Of course he doesn't have his cocky attitude, all because this version of Sonic is a scaredy cat. Think about it. Me saying this made up example would just piss off a lot of Sonic fans. People do really care about the Sonic lore and the history of these characters. And try to change things majorly would try to make fans extremely pissed off. The problem is some of these bad writers are always feeling entitled just to change a character, all because they feel like they want to change a character, all because they're not really fan of these franchises. I know some people did feel sad about Aunt May's death, but I didn't really feel anything in the MCU all because I didn't really feel connected to this Aunt May. All you guys get to disagree with me for my opinions. I don't want to force you for liking your own specific opinion for liking something, but for me, I didn't really felt like Aunt May's death didn't really feel like anything in the MCU. For me, I felt a lot more emotion over Aunt May's death in PS4. Here's why. Spider-Man PS4 has way more emotional impact on how Aunt May died. It's because you know the character and she's supposed to be that supportingly motherly figure more than this Aunt May in the MCU. I wish the MCU movies would have built on Aunt May's character in these movies, but they only care about focusing on Spider-Man. I feel like Aunt May was decent in Spider-Man Homecoming, all because the right advice that she told to Peter Parker is to stay away from danger in case something bad happens to him. But in the other Spider-Man movies, they kind of got rid of that. I feel like it doesn't even make sense with the MCU interpretation of the character. It's all because she wants to help out people and villains, which makes no sense. You saw Spider-Man No Way Home. And in, the other Spider-Man movies, like Far From Home, she doesn't really care that Peter is Spider-Man. And the writers want to make her a carefree aunt. I don't like this retconning to the character of Aunt May in the MCU movies, all because it makes it feel weird. In the Spider-Man comic books, Aunt May was deeply concerned to the fact that Spider-Man was Peter Parker, and she really cared about him. Aunt May didn't even want Peter Parker to be Spider-Man at all. In fact, in the original Spider-Man comic books, Aunt May did hated Spider-Man for a bit in the comic books. The huge reason why? It's all because a lot of New Yorkers in New York City believed in J. Jonah Jameson's lies. For the Amazing Spider-Man comic books, it took a while to Aunt May to find out that Peter Parker was Spider-Man. First, let me talk about with great power also comes with great responsibility. I know Uncle Ben didn't originally said it. It was in the Amazing Spider-Man Fantasy 15. The narrator said it. But the narrator was just telling what Peter thought in his head. I would try to say that means that Peter did heard that quote from somewhere. It was expanded upon in the Spider-Man comic books when Uncle Ben said the quote. And then it was expanded upon in the Spider-Man movies with Spider-Man 1 and An Amazing Spider-Man. Because that made sense. The whole point of being Spider-Man is him trying to atone for his uncle's death by atoning by being a man. The whole quote didn't really meant him being a superhero. Peter Parker took it upon himself to be a hero just to make up for what he didn't do to save his uncle. Think about it like this. Spider-Man's story is really a redemption story for not trying to make up for saving his uncle. I would talk about like this, like good redemption stories. Animes like Rurouni Kenshin. The whole point of that anime was Batotsite the Manslayer. After the war was over in Japan, what happened was Kenshin stopped being an assassin, and he's trying to atone for what he did in the past. And that's why in the Rurouni Kenshin anime, Kenshin doesn't kill people anymore. And there's a lot of villains that want to challenge him to go back to being that killer. Kenshin does redeem himself, and he atones for what he did for his past. I am done talking about Rurouni Kenshin. I am going to transition back to talking about with great power also comes with great responsibility. I feel like the modern interpretation of the quote, with great power also comes with great responsibility, is about being a hero now, but that isn't the case. Spider-Man doesn't really give Peter Parker that much satisfaction in the comic books, all because his life used to tend to suck when he's Spider-Man. The negative consequences of being Spider-Man tends to be like this. Peter Parker try to show up at a friend's wedding, or try to show up for being at a party, and what happens is a friend gets angry at Peter Parker, all because he doesn't show up. So they feel betrayed, feel like they're lied to, and all of this makes his personal life a lot worse. Peter Parker did enjoy some aspects of him being Spider-Man, but the whole point of being Spider-Man was him trying to balance his superhero life and his normal life. Peter Parker failed to stop a robber from stealing from a building, and what happened was, because he failed to stop the robber kills his uncle. I am going to try to talk about my issue with Aunt May's death in Spider-Man No Way Home again, but this time I'm going to talk about the aftermath of her death from Peter's perspective and why I don't like it. The problem I have with the death of Aunt May in Spider-Man No Way Home was Peter was basically being stupid and letting the villains out. Yeah, I was trying to say, when he lets out the villains, he doesn't put Aunt May in a safe area so the villains won't hurt her. Instead, he's trying to let Aunt May try to help out with the villains and try to fix all their problems and their issues. I cannot feel with this connection of Spider-Man. It's all because of, his dumb decisions is the reason why people die. Because he's trying to help them, Aunt May dies? This makes no sense for my personal opinion. All because, the movie's trying to say, yeah, helping out these villains is a good thing. And Peter should just learn to help out his villains, despite him trying to, not trusting them. This shows that in the MCU version that Peter was always just a good person, trying to do the right thing, but he just makes mistakes along the way. While in the comic books, without being Spider-Man from Uncle Ben's death, Peter would have just been a selfish person. In the Raimi Spider-Man movies, with great power comes with great responsibility. The whole talk is about Peter trying to do the right thing as a man, instead of being selfish. The whole talk started after Peter Parker beat up Flash Thompson, and Uncle Ben is trying to teach Peter to do the right thing, instead of trying to do what's wrong. From my perspective of when Uncle Ben says this to Peter, he always tried to teach Peter not to do the wrong thing, and not try to be selfish. I will show you a clip from the Raimi Spider-Man movies, Uncle Ben saying, with great power comes with great responsibility.
These are the years when a man changes into the man he's going to become the rest of his life. Just be careful who you change into. This guy, Flash Thompson, he probably deserved what happened. But just because you can beat him up, doesn't give you the right to. Remember, with great power comes great responsibility.
Uncle Ben was a male role model, what Peter always tried to strive to be in the comic books, ever since he was gone. And him trying to not try to save Uncle Ben and regretted it for all these years. That's basically the whole quote of with great power, great responsibility was always in his head. Heck, even the Amazing Spider-Man movies gets this right too.
Father lived by a philosophy, a principle really. He believed that if you could do good things for other people, you had a moral obligation to do those things. That's what's at stake here. Not choice, responsibility.
That's nice. That's great.
I am so extremely disappointed what Marvel did to change the line for Aunt May originally saying this quote, all because they could just retcon anything that they choose to, even Sony. Yeah, I could think of anything that could just fix what Aunt May said in the MCU before she died. How could I fit this so it could just tie in with Uncle Ben? I would have fixed this with this. Remember what your uncle said, Peter. With great power comes with great responsibility. Peter, don't let me and Ben's death be in vain. Always try to choose to do the right thing, Peter. My idea of this to fix what Aunt May said in the MCU would have this improved a lot, and not try to make other Spider-Man fans angry. I think I gotta end this video right here. Thank you for watching the video. Like, share, and subscribe if you want to see more of my content, and see you soon.